What's up, everybody? It's your main man. It's your boy. Could be the goddamn witchfinder general. And if you got a witch, I'm burning that. I'm burning them up. So, how y'all doing? I know I slowed down for a little bit, but I'm going through some stuff, but things are like super bad and going super good at the same time. So like I'm like 50-50. But what I want y'all to do for me, I ain't ask y'all for shit. But one thing I want y'all to do is hit the like button, hit the subscribe if you're not already subscribed, if you enjoy the content. And so that's what I want y'all to do first. And do my thanks to all my supporters out there. And let me see. So I was thinking about something the other day. I made a mistake. Yup, I sure enough did. I gotta fix it right now. God damn. Sister P, where the hell you at? I gotta call Sister P tomorrow. I gotta call her tomorrow, check up on her. I ain't heard from her in a minute. I used to get all these emails. Sister P, a member, automatically. I wish I could make people, but you can't. You can't put them out there. Sister P is the all-star. You know what I'm saying? I give props and props is due. You know what I'm saying? Sister P, all-star. That's for damn sure. Shout out to Sister P. Check on her. I ain't heard from her in a minute. The other day I was like, I gotta call Sister P. Because I noticed all the emails I wasn't getting. All right. Boom. Sister P right there. At the top there. All right, boom. There we go. All right. So I like to thank all my supporters out there that support me. Right. If you'd like to become members of the supporters list, you can send your donation to $ Cash App. It's in the scrolling in the feed there at the bottom. Or you can join our membership. Get that join button next to my channel name. Join the membership, right? I gotta start putting a lot of stuff on that membership side. It's starting some content for the membership. I should do certain streams and stuff. I really like it. I should just make it with the membership video after I'm done. Let me know what you guys think. 3 people watch. What's up? All right, so somebody I talked to somebody today and they gave me some content. I kind of forgot where I was gonna go with it, so I'm just gonna go with the flow. It's gonna go. I wanted to ask her some more questions about it before I moved forward with it, but I forgot to call before I hit the live button. So there goes that. Maybe I do it on another show. But I did put something up there because I caught myself off guard again. Remember, I was saying like when I leave the code, right? It's a daily thing that you have to constantly check yourself about what you think, what you believe, and your decisions, because all the things that are in the code focus on your, decision making. So this scripture say this, so I can't do this, right? Or this happened in this biblical story, so I don't do this and shit. It's not gonna happen. Like, you know what I mean? So there was a scripture that we was taught. We said, yeah, the word niggas in the Bible, because we had this thing about using cuss words, that it was okay to cuss, to swear, and like curse and shit, right? So you can see the F word, see whatever, like, right? And they said that's not against the Most High, right? We taught that. And one of the things they would do, it said they even put nigger in the Bible. And you're like, what? They show you the scripture that says, surely the riches are not for the nigger. That's what it says, right? So anybody that hear that, you just hear that at the beginning of the word and you automatically like, this thing like bad, like right. So see, the Most High said the riches are surely not for the nigga. And just today, I looked up the definition of the word and was shocked. And was shocked about what it said. I was very shocked. Right now, there's people that say that a lot of white folk like to use this shit. A lot of white folk like to use this. The N word just means ignorant. It could be for anybody. All the black folk out there, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? And I use it a little bit more than I should, right? Sometimes I would have used, like, I don't know. Shut up. Try to do better. Try to do better. You gotta stop yourself in your tracks sometimes. But yeah, this like really no reason for anybody to even use it. Like, I can see people using it with the A at the end, like young kids and stuff but they don't know the history behind it. Young kids now are so fragile. I can say fragile, but racism in certain places really isn't tolerated like it used to be. It was like, all right, you racist, you should keep your ass over there, and we keep our ass over here. Like, you know what I mean? Don't cross paths or whatever. Now that shit just kicked in the butt. Like, I said this before, like if you had a basketball court and you make fun of the white kid and stuff because he can't play ball, they're gonna call you racist, and you might get beat up by the black kids and white kids there. You know what I mean? That's where it's at now. So like what most of my viewers think, however y'all feel about the world, I'm sorry to say this, but it don't matter anymore. Nobody cares about what you think. Nobody gives a fuck about what you think. And because our time is almost up. Right? We on the low end. You know what I'm saying? We on the backside of the shit. You know what I mean? The young kids coming up, they think a certain way. And I think a lot of racism will eventually weed itself out. Eventually. Like, I know it's still going to exist in some, because that shit's in the motherfucking DNA in a lot of cases. They can't help it. If they might stop promoting the act or not promote the act publicly, but they will do things to keep it established. So it's almost like a cult, right? Just like the Hebrew Israelite. Imagine the Hebrew Israelite working at a job. Let me think of what kind of job. Working at a restaurant. Can we use a restaurant? Yeah, okay, a restaurant, right? A Hebrew Israelite, or no. I can say if he owned a restaurant. If he owned a restaurant, right? A Hebrew Israelite owned a restaurant, he ain't gonna sell pork, right? So that's his way of, and he know the majority of his clientele, the people coming in there and stuff, are black, right? So his way of promoting it without telling people, like, okay, you part of this now. I got you to stop eating pork. So when they come in there, he telling them all types of stuff about pork, and like saying this about shellfish, and you know a lobster is a roach, and like all that shit, right? So it's basically trying to get people. Know who will understand what I'm saying? The women, the Israelite women that left the cult. They'll understand what I'm saying, because slowly but surely, if they didn't tell you right from the jump of who they was, little by little, they're going to try to change you in the favor of the cult. they're gonna get you to stop eating pork. He gonna say, "Oh, you look good, yo, with your head covered like that. That's cute, and that's sexy and all that shit, right?" And the girl like, yo, that's what my man like, yo. He like when I wrap my head up like this and stuff, like, right? And eventually, she gonna get accustomed to doing it. Now he's just gonna go a little bit farther before he dropped the whole thing. You know, the Most High, we the Most High's people, right? They're gonna drop that with you. I mean, like, so these Hebrew Israelites, they will eventually try to shape the black community into being like a Hebrew Israelite, one way or another. Just like me, like I didn't buy no kids no candy that had pork in it or anything like that. I would refuse to get it. I'm like, listen here, little nigga, you ain't getting this. When you get some of the sweetest fish, and you take. I remember teaching a kid about the K. I was like, yo, if it got the K on there, it's good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that means that shit good. Like, fire. So got the little kid. He choosing all the stuff that got the K on it. Like, you know what I mean? No, he ain't got no pork. So, like, the little kid and stuff, like, my baby to this day, still looking at candy packages. You know what I mean? From Old Killer B. But, ain't gonna kill him. He'll be all right. But, let me see something here. Got a cool PDF too. I want to show. Try to put that up here. Some interesting stuff in there. Scholar Works. I'll share this PDF with you guys. All right. All right. It's the PDF here. I gotta move a little closer. I'm all relaxing and shit, laying back. Yeah, move a little closer to the screen. My bad. Get a little closer to me. All right, that's probably a lot better. All right, that's the link. Got that in there. Oh, I put this in there. Anybody want to come on? Where Neggy ass at? All right. So, share. Oh, I didn't show the definition of the title of the show. Let me do that before I do this here. All right. There we go. That's the word here. By the time I got to. All right. Let me change this real quick. All right. Goddamn. Oh, what the hell is happening? Oh, okay. Strip. All right, here we go. Let's do this. Oh, here we go. All right. Niggard, a stingy or ungenerous person. So when that scripture says, surely the riches are not for the nigger, that was the clue right there. It don't mean a ignorant person in that scripture. Has a Scandinavian origin. Niggard, Middle English. Huh. That's interesting. Another word for niggard. Parsimonious. My eyes can't keep up with me saying it. That's a long ass word. Shit, that's a spelling bee word right there. God damn. Close, miserly, penurious, and stingy. While all these words mean being unwilling or showing unwillingness to share with others. So the Most High God said, the riches are surely not for them. That's crazy, right? So all you Hebrew Israelites, y'all go to y'all elders or y'all priests or whatever. They say, why you lie to us about this scripture? Because that was that most of y'all, if y'all go to y'all elder, he'll say that's what we was taught. That's what we was taught. That's what we was taught. And that's true. And that's true. But let me get this PDF here. Why? Okay. Where is it here? Oh, that's weird. I don't see it. I'm overlooking something. Hold on a second, y'all. Where is it? Let me put it next to this. Oh shit. I'm gonna do this here. Did I? I hope I didn't do what I think I did. Okay, where's the fucking PDF? Oh, there it is right there. What's it called? Scholarship Works. And that's next to the StreamYard shit. So I should be able to I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah, this is it right here. Damn, I'm looking at it the whole time. Thought it was something else. Okay, here we go. What's that? Where I'm at here. Page 13. This is the etymology of the N-word, resistance language, and the politics of freedom in the antebellum North. I have a feeling now I used this in another video. I might have. Since 1837, Hosea Easton, a black minister from Hartford, Connecticut, was one of the earliest black intellectuals to write about the N-word. In several pages, he documented how it was an omnipresent refrain in the streets of the antebellum North, used by whites to terrorize colored travelers, a term that elite African Americans with the financial ability and personal inclination to travel used to describe themselves. I thought colored didn't come around until like mid 1900s or something. So they was using color in 1837. Damn, that's deep right there. I didn't know that. I'm reflecting upon the ways that the N word impacted colored travelers. Easton painted a picture of an urban landscape in which little urchins of Christian pestered black men and women as they passed. He said white parents and teachers used the word to instruct children that blacks were deficient, but also to show how their own racial status was precarious. They disciplined white children with stories of nigger boogeymen, the N-word boogeymen, and promised the child would, damn, that's crazy. And promised the child would have no more credit than an N-word if she misbehaved. Children absorbed their racial lessons and reacted with open hostility when they saw real black people. Mm. See what I was saying? How those suggestions, these people get you to set their certain suggestions, and look what it does. It said it made the child look at real ones. Like they're the boogeyman, now the black boogeyman and shit. She supposed to be just scared of the black boogeyman. But now she go outside, she see this is a black person and shit. That's the goddamn boogeyman. Yeah, I wonder if the boogeyman. I gotta do a video on boogeyman. I used to get scared by the boogeyman and stuff. So I wonder if that's was the boogeyman originally black. That'd be crazy. Probably was. Goddamn boogeyman. Ain't that some shit? It's just white children taunted. See N-word thick lips. See his flat nose. N-word eye shine. That slick looking N-word. N-word where you get so much coat. That's an N-word priest. As he moved throughout the North, Easton experienced a cacophony of children's voices that continually infested the feelings of colored travelers. He and pestiferious breath of young devils and white adults were heard to join in the concert. The same year, a white abolitionist concurred and highlighted how whites deployed the N-word to hamper black mobility, noting that if a Negro walked the streets, he was often hailed by men and boys with kufi N-word or the like. So they would make black people just like not be wanted around. So they would just be taunted and all types of crazy stuff. This like how in say in the early 1990s or the 80s or something, somebody see like a gay person walking down the street. People can be laughing. Somebody might say some crazy shit to them. You know what I mean? Might get beat up and nobody say nothing. You know what I mean? So things like that was going on. Like how we look at that. Well, that shit's still going on today. But both things still go on today. Certain places. It's true. That's crazy. That's real. That's real crazy. And what's even crazier, there's people that want to go back to that. They want to go back to that. Whether the white supremacists, black supremacists, or we can't forget the Hispanic community. Like we gotta do some work. Can't forget because sometimes they worse than the black and the white. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if anybody saw the video that I put up. I wish I knew somebody that spoke Spanish could tell us what the woman said, but it was a child, I guess the Dominican child, right? and the mother brought her a little black doll, a little doll, a little black girl doll, right? The little girl black. Everybody in the house black. Or what we would call black here in America, right? Black somewhere else might mean somebody different type of motherfucker, right? But the little girl like looked at the doll and stuff. The grandmother snatches the girl away and grabs a white doll and tries to give it to her. Like, look, this is what you want to play with. Ooh, this is fun. This is like I couldn't hear what she was saying, but you could tell she was telling the little girl not to accept the black doll. In the comments was saying like, yo, that's great that this woman even see like what she looked like. I guess she was probably telling the girl that the black doll was ugly. That's crazy. Just imagine that. So now the child go to school or whatever and not, you know what I mean, and still have those ideas instilled in their head where they might not want to make friends with somebody because the way they looked. Like me, I was weirded out by white people when I was a little kid. I used to think something was wrong with them and shit. Like they skin look crazy. Like this shit bugged me the fuck out. I'm like, yo, that shit crazy. Like don't say because I've been around black people, a little kid. I've been around black people all my life and shit. Now I'm starting to go to school. Like, you know what I'm saying? It took me a while to get used to shit. That's real shit. Because like we had a lot of black kids to our classes in elementary school was half and half. It was literally probably half and half. If it was a little bit more black kids and shit, but it was pretty much split down the middle. Probably on purpose. But class and stuff like the white kids were mostly of I would probably say lower economic class than the majority of the white people in the town. So like that probably got something to do with that shit too. But it was crazy. But anyway, this is interesting though. This is very interesting. Um, in antebellum United States, colored travelers were actually aware that travel at home, not the houses in which they live, but the streets, towns, and cities they traverse, was fundamentally hospitable. I gotta do something real quick. All right. Okay. Um. Okay. Going out in public meant confronting a verbal assault. N-word. This single word, N-word, captured the magnitude of anti-black feeling and was unleashed upon free people as they moved through the urban space, rode public vehicles, and even ventured abroad. See, it, it was like, you know what I mean? It was something, say like it was a new trend or something. Like they say, okay, only these people getting this disease. So one of them motherfuckers come get on the bus and shit. They go sit down. Like, yo, motherfucker, don't sit down next to me. Motherfucker, get that shit. I'll punch you in your face. And that's what's going on. And everybody be with the shit. That some ways that happen. I've seen that to certain people and certain type of people. I see stuff like that. The move out, your ass to get beat up, anything, you just get left there. Everybody like, yo, for real. That's crazy. Imagine this, like, ventured abroad. For free African Americans, independent travel within their hometowns and beyond was stressful, dangerous, and sometimes deadly. Ubiquity, the N word, eliminated the limits of their freedom, despite the fact that by 1800, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts were ostensibly free, and between 1780 and 1804, as African Americans became free in the North, however, N-word latched on like a shackle. White Americans of all classes and ages the word, branding free black people as foul smelling, licentious, and unfit for self-rule. By the 1820s, not slavery, people as occupying the word N became a slur in conversation with black representation. In the early 19th century, a small but influential a group characterized by education and activism, not necessarily prosperity, began to defy the prescribed roles as laborers. They asserted their right to equal access to goods and services designed for public consumption, including entry into vehicles of transportation, theaters, taverns, and inns, to prevent such freedoms of mobility. N-word emerged as a weapon of racial containment, a barometer that's to measure increasingly rigid boundaries of whiteness and a mechanism used to and cleanse public space. So there's another part I wanted to get to too. Am I in the chat? Ah, all right. All right, here it is. Colored travelers such as Hosea Easton, David Walker, Frederick Douglass, J.W.C. Pennington, Wells Brown, Harriet Jacobs used the N-word in their lectures and literary productions to expose and protest the complex relationship they had with the place they called home. The word from to shows how and why Black activists designated it a verbal symbol of U.S. racial repression, even as African American laborers continue to use it. Indeed, the word became virulent precisely because Black laborers integrated it into a practice that an understudied and overlooked aspect of African American history. In other words, the label carries such discursive weight because Black laborers spoke it, self-identified as such, and by so doing, subverted notions of race and class identity in the United States. In turn, whites disavowed the word's traceable European origins, and by 1820s largely used it to mock Black speech. They placed the onus of Black subordination on Black people themselves, using African American vernacular to make inequality appear both logical and natural. Wow. When translated, abolitionist was unmasked the venomous dialects of the N word. They elevated the word to epith. How do you pronounce that? Damn, I can't. My tongue can't do that. Uttering and publicity to reluctance and only to demonstrate the oppressive inequality and political hypocrisy, damn it, in the country of their birth. A note on the term. In this essay, I have not bracketed the N word with quotation marks. It was a point with which I grappled considerably. In part, this is because, as I argued throughout, the violence of the word is directly connected to the fact that when Northern whites spoke it, they largely imagined they were quoting Black people. God damn. God damn. Y'all see that shit? That's heavy right there. That's true. That's very true. That's unbelievably true right there. Let me read that shit again to make sure I got it right. It was a point with which I grappled considerably. In part, this is because, as I argued throughout, the violence of the word is directly connected to the fact that when Northern whites spoke it, they largely imagined they were quoting Black people. Likewise, when Black activists later uttered the word themselves, they imagined they were quoting white racists. Wow. Huh. Therefore, quotation marks would have indicated that was true. That many who spoke the word in the 19th century did so reflectively to emulate the vocabulary of someone else. Yet in the 21st century, those same quotation marks are used to set the N word, apart from other words. To flag it as one that is offensive, a word that no respectable person would dare to speak. Flanking the word in scare quotes creates a barrier meant to protect the reader or the signal of squeamishness of the writer who would have chosen any other word if only she or he could. Most significantly, the quotation marks also indicate a presumption. Using them suggests that we all know exactly what the word means. It is my contention, however, that we should not be so sure. For the same reason, although I would never personally speak the word in public forum, opting instead for the quote, the colloquial and admittedly fraught phrase, the N word. I chose here not to replace the actual word with the popular syrup because it too supposes an agreed upon history and understanding that one that I hope this article challenges. Wow. I'm glad I read this tonight. All right. The best place to begin a conversation of the term, the N word, is I'm gonna start saying it. The nigga want motherfuckers to say it, so I'm gonna say it. All right, the best place to begin a conversation about the term nigger is in the late 1920s, a moment when it already reverberated with white belonging and black exile. Yet, to assume the word was always and had only ever been a slur misses the point of its virtues. Instead, it was a word with multiple vantage points, a word whose meaning were complicated by the race and the class of the person who spoke it. This is a fact exemplified by a close look of how David Walker used it in his famous 1829 manifesto appeal to the colored citizens of the world. That's an ill day. Walker, a free man of color who penned his abolitionist pamphlet when he lived in Boston, used his writing as a forum to indict U.S. whites for slavery and their demeaning treatment of free people of color in the North. In the scope of his writing, he invoked the word nigger 4 times, twice in the body of the work and twice in the separate footnotes. Walker's most familiar description confirms what modern readers already know. The word, he said, had Latin roots and had once designated inanimate beings such as soot, pot, wood, house, whatever that is, as well as animals. But Walker argued that by 1829, it had become the purview of U.S. whites who spat it out at Africans by way of reproach for another color, to aggravate and to heighten our miseries because they have their feet on our throats. Yep. With this description, Walker signaled that nigger had become a powerful anti-black epithet. Whites used it with intention, and its essence could only be illuminated through the use of a violent metaphor. Even as Walker's definition of nigger held whites solely accountable for its usage. When the word surfaced 3 more times in the pamphlet, each instance inadvertently revealed that black people used the word too. In one instance, the black abolitionist blurted it after a several-page long diatribe. In his typical radical style, he debunked the prevailing white notion that a black man who sought equality in truth wanted nothing more than to pursue a sexual relationship with white. Walker found proposition and to prove this raised that any black because ought to be treated by her as he surely will be, viz. As a nigger. At first glance, it seemed Walker was simply repeating the language of anti-black whites. If you fetishize whiteness, he declared you deserve to be treated as badly as you will. But whether ironically or not, Walker also unabashedly conjured an image of subservience to rebuke black men who sought intimacy with white women. And in so doing, he himself called those black men niggers. It might sound jarring to modern ears to hear a 19th century black intellectual use niggers unapologetically, but 2 final illustrations from the pamphlet show that Walker was not the only person of color to do so. Walker devoted a large section of the provocative manifesto to analyzing the effects of slavery trauma on African descendant people. I got to get this manifesto and read that. This is good. Anybody watching? We got 2 people up here. Big O, what up, Big O? You got your wrench? It won't show me on the StreamYard. Let me check. Let me go to the YouTube thing. You take a break from reading it anyway. This is good. This is a good one, Big O. The link in the chat. You want to come on? Why did this do that? Oh, I didn't mess it up. Okay. That'd be crazy though if you ain't Big O. Like, yes, got that. You know, if you ain't Big O. All right. Let me see if it's on there. Why does it do a little else? Let me show you that. Yeah, he got the wrench. All right. He got the wrench. All right. Okay. Where I left off here. Um Damn, where I leave off? Shit. Men and women, the black folks, walk a dog, ignorant ones, believe that they were satisfied. Okay, I read that, All right, let's start here. These were black folks who walk or dug the ignorant ones. They were people who believed were satisfied not with slavery necessarily, but with its legacy, calling themselves free and happy in the face of their wretchedness. In the South, they were slaves. In the North, they worked in service to whites without complaint. He thought shoe shining, barbering, laundering. To demonstrate this subservience, Walker said he met an enslaved man in North Carolina. He quoted as saying, a nigger ought not to have any more sense than enough to work for his master. Yeah, damn. Yeah, damn. Big O, you hear that shit? They had us like that, yo. That's crazy. That's some wild shit right there. He said a nigga ain't had no more sense. Just enough sense to work. That's it. That's some real nigga shit right there, boy. Just enough sense to work. And that's how a lot of white people be looking at black people on the job and shit. That's just crazy. All your shit was disturbed. See, like, people knew about it. People read books and wrote books and shit. White folks was reading this shit. Why you think all these kids, white kids, said, well, always into reading and all that shit? Like, I was a reading motherfucker. When I was a kid. I had a big ass encyclopedia set and shit. Hell yeah. I knew all types of shit. Be experimenting shit about to blow the house up. Oh, let's see. This is enough sense. That is said a nigga ought not to have any more sense than enough to work for his master. God damn. Walker saw this particular self-naming as demeaning and obsequious. In an attempt to rectify such ignorance, Walker urged his proselytes to educate black laborers, particularly in the North. He also warned that their conversion would not be an easy one. It seemed the ignorant ones did not think of themselves as such, and instead defied and dismissed other people of color who insisted they were Walker caution. When you speak to them for their own good, they try to enlighten their minds. They laugh at you and perhaps tell you plumb to your face that they want no instruction from you or any other nigga. Yo. Yo. Honestly, just before I finished that, just that one little part up in there, I was thinking, I was like, this is where these motherfuckers get all this shit from. You know, like all the black radical groups and stuff like that. Listen to what I read. Did y'all not hear what I just read? See, he's sending his proselytes out to educate black people, right? What the 5% come and do? What the Nation of Islam come and do? Or say they come and do. That's what I mean. Say they come and do. What the Hebrew Israelites say they come and do. What all the Nawabians, whatever they call now, Sabians, whatever the hell they call now. Right? So, like, this is the same shit. This is where they get this shit from. This is where they get this shit from. He also warned that the convert, it's hard telling a nigga son that what's the scripture they use? They say the Israel is like I forgot the scripture. It'll come to me later. Yeah, the niggas like that's how I read you the scripture early. Said the riches is surely not for the nigger, and they tell you that be black people because they know you ain't got no sense. You only got enough sense to work. Know what I'm saying? This is where it's like it's a game that was being played long time ago. And what they say, and the motherfuckers, the what they call them, the ignorant ones, they ain't so damn ignorant after all. They know they getting set up for some shit. Next thing you know, making garments for free, calling everybody brother and shit. Right? It said it seemed the ignorant ones did not think of themselves as such, and instead defied and dismissed other people of color who insisted they were Walker caution. When you speak to them for their own good, they try to enlighten their minds. They laugh at you and perhaps tell you plump to your face that they want no instruction from you. And that's what they do. Like when the Hebrew Israelites, majority of the people walk by, like, I ain't got no time for that bullshit, nigga. That's what they say. Now, who calling me a liar? And they think they some kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Not to save the world and shit. That's what these motherfuckers can learn how to do that shit. This is an old hustle, yo. This is an old hustle. In this instant, when the black Northerners Walker tried to educate, conjure the word nigger, they deployed it as a social leveler. Ooh. So we call them a name like, yo, now, all right, you understand what I'm saying? Just like me. It was as if to say, you are not better than we are. Right? Exactly. And the people still do that to this day. I had my boy rolling yesterday, yo. We would go somewhere and he did Uber thing shit, right? So I was like, yeah, man, they be taking my shit all over town and shit. Driving down my street. Drive down my motherfucking street and go all the way fuck around town with my shit, then bring it back and shit, right? From a place that's just right around the corner. So I was telling you, this fucking black dude, yo, took my shit. And like, you know how you can see them driving, like where they at and shit, right? So I'm like, God damn, this nigga take my shit. He passed my house. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, he said, so what'd he say? He said, yo, my bad, King. Yo, my boy fell out. I was like, what he said? He said, my bad, King. Like, you know what I'm saying? All that brother shit. You know what I'm saying? We brothers and shit. You know, we just out here trying to get white people this money. Yeah, King and shit. So I ain't supposed to say nothing. I'm like, man, get my damn food, man. Fuck out of here. Yeah, my bad, King. I had a Jamaican dude and shit trying to say, we brothers and shit after I called him out on the lie. Because Walgreens and stuff, they supposed to give you $10 if they don't give you your receipt. Like, you know how you buy something from the store, they pull the goddamn receipt out and you the receipt, right? With your change or whatever. So if they don't do that at Walgreens, you can receive $10 cash right there on the spot. You walk out the store and walk your ass back in. You be like, yo, you get my motherfucking receipt, nigga. You supposed to get $10 cash. So this nigga try to play it off, right? Saying the manager's out to lunch. It's like 2 a.m. I'm like, all right, I'll wait on him. And like he saw that I wasn't leaving. And he like, yo, man, you gotta leave and shit. I was like, no, the fuck I don't and shit. And like he didn't know. I just left the chick house that worked there. And she like, yo, that motherfucker's the manager, right? So he was busted. Like I caught him. He was fucked up. When I say, yo, you the manager. He was like, yo, you know, man, we brothers and shit. He said, yo, you Jamaican? I said, no, I ain't fucking Jamaican, motherfucker. Because I had these big ass motherfucking dreadlocks and shit. Oh, you know, I was Jamaican. I'm like, no, I ain't fucking Jamaican, motherfucker. That motherfucker looked at me and shit, yo. She was fucked up, yo. That shit, I got my $10 to the white man that morning. Yo. Yeah, report called corporate. I got my money that morning. Anyway, let's go back to niggas. He tried to play me and shit. That shit was funny, yo. He tried to talk shit and then tried to pull that brother shit. That shit was crazy, yo. If you say you're not better than we are, if to say you're not better than we are. In her study of pre-Civil War New York City, historian Leslie Harris has identified similar instances where African Americans refused to privilege middle-class educated blacks and their tactics of racial improvement. Above more grassroots political efforts that involve working-class blacks. Like the subject of Harris' study, black laborers in Walker's Boston similarly refused to assume that there was only one viable strategy for liberation. And they called out Walker and his followers for insisting there was. Still, of all the names they might have called Walker, why did they choose nigger? Moreover, if nigger had been white only English, why would Walker portray African Americans who spoke it? Ultimately, why would a free person of color rely on language meant to subjugate him? These questions remain unanswered because even though David Walker appeal offered just one of the many instances in which African Americans used the word nigger in the 19th century, scholars have yet to fully analyze this practice. The idea that nigger was a similar anti-black term that gained virulence as a slur in the 1820s and 1830s is a fact upon which scholars agree. Cultural theories such as Randall Kennedy and Jabari SM, and for the early 19th century historians, David Roediger and Patrick Rael were done marvelous work demonstrating the white Northerners became invested in welding and word precisely at the moment when gradual abolition and emancipation began. Sorry, my eyes jacked up. Began to free people of color in the North. Moreover, in an important observation, Rael even argues that by the end of the antebellum period, middle-class whites and some Southern gentlemen refused to use the word, not because they were anti-racist, but because they recognized nigger as a vocabulary of the lower class. Boom. Boom. What did I say? And damn, when I did the shit on JJ 7000 Victim, what did I say? I said the lower class white people use that shit. Like they doing something with it. I said those the people. Broke motherfuckers. See? Says vocabulary of the lower class. If Rael is correct that white people of certain class felt too superior to other, or to at least to admit to uttering the word, it seemed more likely that their aversion stemmed from African American usage rather than that of vulgar whites. Mm. Wow. Nevertheless, because scholars have shied away from the discussion, questions remain about the process in which nigger transformed from a harsh descriptor of violent epithet. Perhaps they fear that highlighting black uses might distract from social histories that foreground black agency and resistance. Notwithstanding scholarly um, retentions on the subject, there there is ample evidence to suggest that from at least the 18th century, if not before, nigger is a multifaceted and complex part of the Black English that some people of color, most notably Black laborers, use to refer to themselves or other African Americans. That Black people spoke the word and substantiated in the sources of the observation of white Europeans who visited the United States in the early 19th century. This is a fact that has posed an intellectual problem for scholars because these travelers interrupted black uses. I'm sorry, because these travelers interrupted black usage as yet another example of servility, obsequiousness, and backwardness. These observers claim to have frequently overheard the people of color calling out to each other, "You nigger," on southern plantations in the northern cities alike. That's crazy. Like, Nick, you nigga, come bring your ass over here, nigga. Yo, there's people that call they children nigga. Yo, their kids not even a year old. You look at that little nigga. Somebody have a kid. Motherfuckers come over there and see the baby shit. They be like, "Yeah, that's what you got a little big head, little nigga." You know what I'm saying? Baby not even 3 weeks old yet. This shit get called nigga about 50 times this shit a day. Like, this little nigga and shit. Like, this little nigga. On the southern plantations and northern cities alike. Each time the white listener believed she or he had heard an instance of unbounded insolence and tyranny, or that black people who spoke it were striving to intimate their superiors. These foreign witnesses asserted that nigger was the vocabulary of white supremacy, and that African Americans who used it attempted, however, failingly, to cross into a social space reserved for whites. Mm. Scholars, in turn, have tended to interpret the black use of nigger, much as the 19th century foreign observer had. African American speakers were simply adopting the language of the oppressor and thus mimicking Anglo American racial conventions in the process. In turn, scholars have glossed over, justified, and condemned this behavior, calling black usage a sign of affection at its best, or a class arrogance, or calling black usage a sign of affection. It has yet. Oh damn! I read the same sentence. My eyes jacked up. The same sentence over. I was like, wait a minute. Counter-revolutionary ignorance at its worst. In his important book on who can and cannot say the N-word, Jabari said that. Um, Antebellum African Americans who used the word were playing into the hands of those who opposed their cause. Yet, as the writings of Walker attest, the black use of nigger were more complicated than one simple explanation can neatly convey. Instead of thinking of nigger purely as a word that African Americans borrowed and mimicked from whites, English, or it is more accurate to conceptualize it in the word as a word and a social identity that black laborers ultimately shaped for themselves. Of course, nigger did not start out as part of African American vocabulary. From at least 1619, when British settlers described the first 20 involuntary black laborers in Jamestown as niggers, the term emerged as a common colonial descriptor. In British North America, it flattened all African descendant workers into one racialized identity. A nigger was the property of whites. She was black. Her bondage was hereditary. Yeah, I can't say that. Hereditary. Damn, I can't say it. Y'all see what it said. And it lasted and damn. Don't let me do it. And it lasted special. Actually, a nigger was a slave, a real social category that described an actual class of laborers. When whites used it, it was neither a compliment or an epithet, and identified as recognizable, albeit degraded groups of workers. As black freedom began to unfold in the post-revolutionary North, however, the descriptor nigger remained steadfast. This was due to a large part to the fact that the involuntary labor persisted through the process of gradual abolition under the guise of indentured servitude. Yes, the legislature of Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire ended slavery before 1800. But 5 other northern states, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, passed series of convoluted gradual abolition laws that honored the rights of northern slaveholders, did not actually free a single slave. Rather, these lawmakers freed the children of slaves, but only after the child served a protracted labor contract. What the hell is that? Damn. Protracted labor contract. This is a liminal status that historians Joanne Malish call statutory slavery. These contracts usually lasted from birth until a person's mid-20s. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. So even though you free, you still gotta work until you in your mid-20s before you actually can go out and do what you want to do. Wow. The category slave and indentured servant were so tightly entangled that some indentured servants found little difference between their own status and that of enslavement. James Mars, an indentured servant from Connecticut, who was born to slave parents in 1790, and thus technically free, entitled his 1868 narrative Life in James Mars, a slave born and sold in Connecticut. He detailed a life that mirrored the experiences of enslaved people on antebellum plantations, including the harsh punishment, separation from family, and threat of sale. According to common parliament, someone like Mars would have been referred to as a nigger because, as a black involuntary laborer, he was one. Black intellectuals did not take casual usage. Walker's angry name calling suggested that he too recognized nigger as a degraded social class. although he was empathetic that he did not belong to it. In 1837, Hosea Easton, the black minister from Connecticut, also acknowledged that nigger described the actual social category, explaining that the term in itself would be perfectly harmless were it used only to distinguish one class of society from another. The problem, he argued, was that the whites used the word indiscriminately to group involuntary workers such as Mars into a single category, along with black professionals and activists like himself. Let me check my thing here. Make sure I'm still on there. Thanks, Big O. I put the link up. I put the link to the PDF up in the chat. At the top of the chat, that's the link for the PDF. It's called The Etymology of Nigger Resistance, Language, and Politics of Freedom in the Antebellum North. So it's talking about black people in the North and how they use the word, and like, you know what I mean? And these people was researching all this stuff. These people was following me. Like I keep telling motherfuckers, people got books on you motherfuckers. Like, you know what I'm saying? This shit is crazy. But he's like, he talks a lot about there was a black guy that I guess wrote all this stuff. I forgot what he was doing. But this is deep. I didn't read none of this stuff before I went live. I only read like one page. I was like, all right, I'll use this. But this is good. That's a dope logo, yo. I like that. This is explosive energy focus. All right. Yeah, this is really good. North American colonial period, nigger became part of their vocabulary. It was a word that belonged to a group of people who understood that their claims to the United States as a home were impossible. Even as they were born, toiled, loved, suffered, struggled, survived, and died within the topography of slavery and violence. It was a viable identification that imagined a community larger than an individual's immediate social network and extended throughout the Atlantic world and across the diaspora. It is vital to think a nigger as part of a black vocabulary rather than just a word in a form of violence thrust upon African descended people. Doing so helps to explain is vital as opposed to less damaging racialized terms such as slave, African, darky, black, disabled. But perhaps even more crucially, understanding the history of the word helps unlock the secrets of its undeniable staying power in the vocabulary of African Americans in the 21st century. At the root of both the word's discursive endurance and also its perpetual violence is the fact that the American English nigger diverged and developed more than one meaning, demonstrated how important language was to African American cultural development. In his discussion on colonial South Carolina, historian Peter Wood argues that enslaved people faced a trauma of verbal isolation that encouraged them to quickly acquire a common language in which they adopted some English words, but also retained African ones. Historian John Thornton contends this common language was a lingua franca that fostered commerce and social interaction between the people in the Atlantic world and multiple ethnic backgrounds. Broken English allowed for a common mode of communication between African descended people and sailors, overseers, slaveholders. Nevertheless, as historian Michael Gomez asserts, this language and its vocabulary was never neutral. Gomez contends that when an enslaved forced an enslaved African to repeat words, I'm sorry, uh, slave African to repeat words associated with his captors and embrace concepts which further criticize his condition of social death. The enslaved person came to realize that language was, in fact, a political weapon. As an act of subversion, enslaved people responded by making the cadence and meaning of the master's language their own. In this respect, the black use of nigger is just one example of what historians Jane White referred to as black style. That is, the process by which objects are taken from dominant culture and given a new meaning in the context of soul culture. I was like, what this white man talking about? It sounded like white man. Shane White sounded like white man. I like, what the fuck you talking about? And then the nigga broke the shit down. The shit true. We do that shit to this day. Maybe Shane White might not be white. I don't know. What y'all think? But wow. Thus, nigger emerged as a significant part of the lingua franca among African descended people in the Atlantic world. As a result of this kind of African and African American culture adaptation, the word nigger developed with distinctly different meaning depending on the speaker or the conversation. The scope of the tenor of these meanings quickly diverged to reflect how Anglo Americans felt about enslaved people on the one hand and how enslaved people felt about themselves on the other. African Americans built their own meaning around the word nigger, and outsiders found these meanings opaque. The black use of nigger beguiled white listeners. Indeed, African Americans kept the true significance of nigger hidden in plain view. This is not an attempt to simplify the intentions of every black person every time she or he uttered the word nigger. Um, about how enslaved people today. Oh, yeah. Enslaved people on the one hand and how enslaved people felt about themselves on the other. African Americans built their own meanings around the word nigger, and outsiders found these meanings opaque. The black use of nigger beguiled white listeners. Indeed, African Americans kept the true significance of nigger hidden in plain view. This is not an attempt to oversimplify the intentions of every black person every time she or he uttered the word nigger. At times, black uses indicated subvergence and even class hierarchy. Certainly, Walker used it to demean black men interested in interracial marriage, but in other instances, the word nigger disguised a range of complex meanings and intentions. When addressing whites, it might single respect or manipulation or disassemblage. When addressing other African Americans, it could signal reproach, but more often indicated a shared social identity. Indeed, as scholars such as James Scott and Darlene Clark Hine argue, interpreting the hidden transcript of the different seeming people necessitates a careful listen to how low hum buzzing beneath the dominant discourse. Consider, I'm getting tired of reading. Consider the possibility that when African Americans spoke the word nigger to each other, they did it so to articulate a sense of place within the land that was not their own. Oh, that shit. Identifying nigger as a significant part of vocabulary and culture of black laborers, it is not simply speculative, but comes from several sources, including the writing of black activists in 1930s. WPA interviews of former slaves in southern and northern slave songs. The most prolific contemporary evidence, however, exists in anti-black cultural production that gained momentum and the source of entertainment in the North in the 1770s and the 1780s. These pieces mocked the black uses of nigger and in so doing demonstrated that whites were disturbed by the practice. Wow. As proto-blackface productions, they were the ancestors of anti ministry. But unlike the stage performances, they became popular in 1830. This blackface was a literary variety and usually came in the form of letters to the editor in almanacs and newspapers. Yeah, I'm gonna end it right there. Wait, what's this? So it's a letter from Sambo, a poor nigger to Miser Thomas. Wow. Wow. All right. Thank y'all for hanging out with me tonight. Some of y'all did. Hold on 1 second here. What I'm trying to do. There we go. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out. Those that hung out. Don't forget to hit like button, subscribe or whatever. Struggle screen tonight, but it's all good. It's all good. I ain't been around. So what I expect. But yeah, with that, everybody, y'all have a good night. The link for the PDF, which I suggest everybody that see this read, I suggest it is in the chat right at the top. You grab it, read it. It's about 45 pages and stuff. As you can see, it's a good read and stuff. I'm gonna finish it probably tomorrow or something. Not on the show, on my own personal thing. But yeah, have a good night, y'all. Peace.